Have you ever wondered why is it that some days you feel really good, you feel like doing what you want to do, and some days you just don't feel so good? You feel really down, reactive, overwhelmed, stressed. We want to understand our feelings. Astrology gives us a really clear map of it with your moon sign. This helps us understand our inner world, what's going on in our mind, emotions, and our mood. And in today's episode, I'm going to share how you can better understand your own moon sign and the energies that are at play for you. And if you're new to me, check out your free Vedic chart and training at quietmindastrology.com. And you can see where your moon sign is and how you can best work with these energies. And there's a free training to help you start to work with it. As above, so below. So if we want to understand the moon sign, we have to look up above to what the moon is in the space and above us, and then how it actually affects us internally. So the moon is our closest celestial neighbor. It controls the tides on the earth. So in your chart, it helps us understand where it's affecting your own water element, which is emotions. And in all traditions, water is associated with emotions and movement. And you can have big emotions, big rainstorms, big tidal waves, or you can have more subtle emotions like a drop of water, which is very calm and peaceful. Water can also erode mountains over time, just through being soft and gentle, but consistently moving over time. But it can also be very hard and intense, like a pressure washer. So our emotions, like water, can have many different effects. And if you want to cut diamonds, actually, you can use a water pistol that's super focused and strong. And water can actually cut through something super hard, but it also can be very soft. So our emotions can be very intense or very gentle at times. The moon has no light of its own. When we say the moon is full, it's just that the moon is illuminated by the sun. We say reflecting the sunlight, but it's really just sort of we're seeing the sun on the moon. It's not actually reflecting like a mirror, but we use that term a lot for the moon. So in your chart shows how you reflect and receive and are illuminated by the world, by others. So where you receive light, where you receive adoration, praise, judgment, criticism, all the things that can come at us in life, how you handle that is your moon sign, house, and nakshatra and moon factors, which we'll go into in future episodes. But the moon is where you start to understand what is going on in your emotional landscape and how you're interacting with the world. The moon is the fastest moving body. It changes sign every 2.5 days. So we can actually look at the night sky and watch the moon move through all the signs and nakshatras over time. And this is where I really have a hard time justifying following the Western tropical system for the moon, especially because if we just look at the sky, we can see, especially on when the moon is visible at night where you are, it's in certain constellations. And that's very clear, visible with the naked eye. And we can see it with any night sky tracking app as well. And the moon is actually in Aries or Taurus or whatever sign, and you can see it in the constellation, where in Western astrology, they might say it's in this constellation, but it's actually not. It's a 24-degree difference. So there's 6 degrees where it can overlap, and sometimes we might hear in both systems that the moon is in Aries or Taurus or whatever, because there's a 6-degree overlap where they're still the same, but that is changing every 72 years. It moves back 1 degree. So in about a few hundred years, they'll be completely different all the time. And when we say the moon is in Taurus in Vedic, it actually is. When you say that in Western astrology, you're referring to a seasonal system that is not really linked to the stars or constellations or the moon's actual position. So it's very important to be aware of that. And every 2.5 days, the moon is in a new sign. So we're having a new shift of energy. So on Monday, you might feel very excited and energized about something. And on Thursday, you might feel completely different about it. And the moon sign can help us understand that. And in your own chart, this can also help us narrow down if you don't know the birth time for yourself or someone else. And then we're working with transits. This shows, again, how your mood can change quite quickly. And if you are a moon dominant person, like Cancer rising or moon in your first house, or very strong Cancer placements or moon impact, then you also are going to feel these changing energies a lot. And not only that, but the moon changes nakshatras every day, about every 12 hours. So the nakshatra is the smaller division of the sky we call lunar mansion. And this is because it's tracking the roughly 28-day cycle of the moon, 27.3 days. So we have 27 nakshatras. And that also helps us track the moon movement every day. And that nakshatra is a more refined, subtle energy. It's like a more precise sign of the zodiac, and it helps us understand more precise movements and mood changes day by day. So this is why your mind and mood can change so fast because of this quick movement of the moon. Whereas something like Saturn takes 2.5 years to go through a sign, moon takes just 2.5 days. So Saturn is a much slower influence changing the structures of our lives. The moon is a quicker influence changing our mood and emotions and our emotional state. Chandra, a name for the moon in Sanskrit, is considered the queen of the planetary cabinet. The sun is the king, the moon is the queen. Check out the sun episode if you didn't see that on the deeper meaning of the sun. But they kind of work together, the sun and moon. And we are at this amazing, perfect symmetry position where we can have things like the solar and lunar eclipse, where the sun and moon are the exact same size in the sky because of this special time we're living in, where that happens to be the case. And they each have a very strong, almost equal influence, arguably, on us, just like a king and queen have arguably an equal influence on a society. So a very strong effect of the queen energy, where we have a sense of sovereignty emotionally, ideally, and we have a sense of decision, choice, and leadership around our emotions and our mental state. The moon represents our mind, or manas, we say in Sanskrit. So if you want to understand like how you think, what you focus on, where your mind goes, this is the moon. And in a lot of Eastern traditions like Buddhism, they say that the mind's natural state actually is not beautiful, peaceful, and serene, where some people might say that. And it's worth kind of considering, is that true? Because if you just sit still for a while and observe the mind, you might notice that it gets distracted, it wanders, it ruminates, it's peaceful, it's calm. It's all of these things, sometimes within a minute, sometimes within a whole day. We have thousands of thoughts every day. Many of those are the same thoughts repetitively. Many of them are actually negative thoughts. And this sort of idea comes from the Buddhist tradition especially, but a lot of Eastern thought that the mind, natural state of the mind is actually like a garden when it's left unattended. It's going to grow a lot of weeds, a lot of beautiful stuff too, but it also can be that the most invasive species take over. And then all of the life-giving nutrients are just crowded out in a garden. That can happen. So part of the human journey and the human purpose, I think, is to be a good gardener to life and to our mind and to our emotions, and not let the weeds choke out everything else in the garden. You can do whatever you want. You don't have to do that. But if you want a beautiful garden, a beautiful mind, a clear thinking process, a serene, beautiful mind, and that you can focus when you need to, you can relax when you need to, then that garden will probably need some pruning and weeding. And that is what we do through practices like meditation, breath work, journaling, therapy. These things I talk about in new moon alignment, where we work with the energy of the new moon every month and do practices to essentially do this, to clear the mind, to harness our energies so that the mind doesn't get choked out by these weeds. And just observe for yourself. Sit for an hour in stillness. And if I said that and your alarm bells go off, an hour, oh my God, did he actually say an hour? That right there tells you how much the mind might have become overrun with some weeds or invasive species that want to say, fearful thoughts like, we don't have enough time, or, I can't do that, or I can't sit still, or I can't focus. Is that really true? Right? Is that just a thought that's taken hold and taken root in your mind? Because you can look at a child born in China or Africa or Japan or the US, and their mind has different qualities and different tendencies. Some cultures tend towards more respectful thought processes. Some cultures tend towards more defiant thought processes, more independent thinking, more compliant thinking, more negative thoughts, more positive thoughts. And cultures and subcultures and communities all have these more sort of tendencies. And the child has their own soul, the sun, which we talked about before in the sun episode, their own sort of tendencies. But the mind is very much shaped by the environment. So if you want a more clear, direct, peaceful mind, the environment is going to affect that a lot. And it represents your emotional body. And in the Vedic tradition, the emotions follow the thoughts. And again, there's different opinions about this, and you can observe for yourself how it goes for you. But you may find that if you are regularly consuming negative media, the news cycles, the fear, the stress, and just in that environment all the time around people who are also consuming that, also bringing negative thoughts, you may likely find yourself feeling more negative emotions, more fear-based emotions, more anxiety. Versus if you put yourself in an environment that's not unrealistic, it's not bypassing, it's not Pollyanna, but it is choosing to direct attention towards possibility, potential. What can we do about this? What do we want to create? What are we grateful for? And some people are very defiant against those kind of things, like, that's not reality. You're being, there's people suffering. And there are people suffering. There is suffering in the world. And okay, what are you going to do about it? And there's people like creating mushrooms that go in the ocean and eat plastic, right? We could say there's an island of trash in the ocean, the world's falling apart. Or we could say there's an island of trash in the ocean and maybe we can invent something that does something about it. And, if you surround yourself in these sort of optimistic, hopeful, visionary, inspiring, grateful energies, then notice how that affects you emotionally. You might start to feel more hopeful, more inspired, more grateful yourself. And without being bypassing or avoiding, but just choosing to take an empowered, creative stance around these situations and issues of the world. So in the Vedic tradition, emotions follow the thoughts. Some people believe it's the other way around. You feel something and then you think about it. And if you follow that train of thought, again, I think the tendency will be, in my experience, and you may observe this, that you don't feel like it. You wake up and you feel like just scrolling on your phone. You feel like just eating pizza. You feel like just eating candy. And that's going to kind of feel good in the moment. And then eventually it might feel worse, but eventually that feeling kind of gets a momentum going. And then it gets hard to get out of it. It gets an inertia. A kapha energy has more inertia. And then you feel worse and worse. And there's this like meme you may have seen about this that I'll put in here now.
I'm just feeling really down these days and I don't know why. Have you exercised today? No. Did you go outside? No. Did you talk to anyone? No. Did you eat well? No. Did you limit your scrolling time? No. Did you make any plans? No. Did you drink enough water? No. Did you get enough sleep? No. Wait, yes. Yes to that one. Yeah, no, it's what a mystery.
So we have this choice of things that we do affect our emotions and things that we think affect our emotions. Test it out, see if it resonates for you. But I think that's an empowering way to work with the moon. And then where your moon is in your chart, you can focus on its strengths and bring those out. The moon shows you where you see comfort and safety. So do you feel at home by yourself or with a family? With a small family, a large family, where do you find comfort? And time in nature, time in the city, traveling, time in a retreat, working. You might feel comfortable at work. Where do you find that? Your moon will show you. The moon rules the sign of Cancer. So whenever you have a Cancer rising energy, the moon is a very influential force. Or wherever the sign of Cancer is in your chart, the moon is very influential of that house. So we all have Cancer somewhere in the chart. We all have every sign in the chart. Because when you're born into the 360-degree view of the world, and every sign is there, even if there's no planet in that sign. So the moon is affecting that house for you. It could be your 7th house of relationships. The moon is affecting how you relate. The moon could be ruling your 10th house of career if Cancer's in your 10th house. ruling how you work, and so on. So you want to check where Cancer is in your houses to understand where the moon is really affecting you. The moon is exalted in Taurus. So whenever we go through these transits of moon in Taurus, which happens every month for 2.5 days, we get a boost of these positive energies. And if you're born with this, then that is your nature. You have a lot of these strengths of moon and Taurus. Moon is debilitated in Scorpio. So every month when moon passes through Scorpio, we get 2.5 days that are a little more challenging for everybody. But again, it depends on your chart and how this plays out for you. People born with this may have more emotional ups and downs, more intense emotions, but there's always strengths in everything. And they may find they have very great research ability, very deep insights, and they get very passionate about things. It very much helps if you have moon in Scorpio. You got to have like something to obsess about in a healthy way, like a business project, a home project, a renovation, learning a new language, learning astrology. These are very deep undertakings that take quite a bit of focus and attention and really harness that energy. Learning coding, IT, surgery. These are all like very deep skills. The moon is the lens through which you experience reality. So this is why you can't agree with somebody. It's like, but I see it this way and they see it that way. And if they would just see it my way, they would understand it. And they're wrong and I'm right. This kind of thing. It's because we have different emotional experiences of the world. We have different emotional realities. And the person who believes X is completely right. And the person who believes Y is completely right in their mental construct. And maybe that will change over time. Maybe they'll have different insights. But if someone's not open to a different opinion, then, you're going to be having a lot of conflict there. And when you understand this and you see, oh, they have moon in Aries, they're going to be more on focusing on initiating things and starting things. They're going to be maybe a little bit more to the point, more blunt. Or somebody has moon in Cancer, they're going to be a bit more sensitive and relational and intuitive and care about somebody's feelings and ask how you're feeling. Somebody with moon in Capricorn is more practical, etc. So understanding these differences helps us celebrate the differences rather than criticize or condemn the differences. This is a source of a lot of conflict in the world, of not seeing that other people see the world differently. We have different lenses we're wearing. You want to be careful with the mind because it's really easily influenced by its surroundings. As I mentioned before, the environment you put your mind in is like, again, the environment you grow a garden in. If you're in a tropical environment, you can grow palm trees. If you're in Siberia, you can't grow palm trees. You need the right environment that you want to grow into for your mind and emotions. And if you can't do that by location, you can do it by books you read, by friends, by communities, by online communities. But again, the environment is very important to what kind of moon you cultivate, what kind of mind and emotions you cultivate. When the moon becomes deficient and expresses more shadow, difficult, inauspicious side, we're going to see more emotional coldness, more difficulty to connect with others. And the moon needs strengthening through practices that harness the moon energies. If you want these practices, check out New Moon Alignment on my site, quietmindastrology.com. That's where we do practices to strengthen all of the grahas, including the moon. And especially for your chart, I give you personalized practices for your own moon based on exactly your moon placements. But essentially, it's deficient because we're not harnessing the gifts of the moon, and we need to bring them out more. When the moon becomes excessive, too much, it's overwhelming. We get overwhelmingly sensitive, and we get really sensitive to criticism, especially Oscillatia moons, very sensitive to criticism. There's a lack of boundaries here where we kind of lose ourselves, especially the Kritika and Rohini moon nakshatras. And it's too generous, too giving, too compassionate, and taking on too much in the environment. When the moon is aligned in that sweet spot, we find a lot of empathy for others, for ourselves, emotional resilience. We can have down days, like when the moon transits through Scorpio every month. We can have more positive, harmonious days, like when the moon transits through Libra or Taurus every month. And we can be emotionally resilient, honoring those rhythms and taking time to rest when we need to, time to be active when we need to. And ultimately, we find a deep sense of inner peace and just feeling at home in ourselves, comfortable in our own skin, unaffected by other people, just like some of the exemplars we'll look at in a moment. So again, just the keywords for the moon, the mother, the maternal energy in yourself, your mom. If you want to understand your mom, check out your moon. And if you want to become a mother or have the maternal energy in your life, even for men, moon shows you that energy, how it shows up. Is it more of an air sign mother, like it's more about ideas, or more water sign mother, it's more about feelings, etc. Moon is your mind, how you think, how you process things, what's going on in your head, your emotions, what you're feeling, which can change in an instant, or there can be moods that stay around for a long time. Moon is mood. So if you get stuck in a depression, check out what's going on with your moon. If you're super happy and elated for weeks on end, there's probably some good stuff going on with your moon. You're probably really in alignment, harnessing the strengths of your moon and the current transits. Moon is your home, where you feel at home and comfortable, the actual physical home. Like if there's places you go and it feels like home. Your yoga mat can feel like home. Your meditation cushion, a place you meditate in nature can feel like home. A place you like to go on retreat can feel like home. You could feel at home on a yoga mat, or you might have a home away from home that you like to go to. All of that is seen by your moon placement in your chart. The moon also shows where you find nourishment, and this can be nourishment through ideas, nourishment through stability and structure in your life. We all need some of these things, but especially where your moon is, it's what you're going to prioritize. And you might be most nourished and inspired by learning things, like a moon in an air sign, like Aquarius. Or you might be more focused on stability and security, like moon in Cancer, which is a water sign, but it's its own sign. Or moon in an earth sign, like Capricorn or Virgo or Taurus, where you're going to prioritize finding more stability and nourishment in a way that you feel sustainable. So let's look at some public figures, some examples of people with, actually all of these examples have their moon exalted. So a great one is Jeff Bridges.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
And your moon might be exalted, or you might have a strong moon energy in your chart if you do stuff like Jewel.
I left home. Look at this. Yeah, I'm in my slippers. Just wandering around LA in my slippers.
And you may find that your moon really comes out and expresses itself through deep friendships and relationships over the long run.
We can read the quote once more. Don't eat with people you wouldn't starve with. To me, like, loyalty is really big. Because then if you invest in certain people in your life and they stick by you and you stick by them, and what else is life about?
Yeah, well, hardship will show you who your real friends are. That's for sure. It's been a great ride, this podcast thing, and you're the reason I started the podcast. You inspired me to do it. You told me to do it. Did it. You've also been an amazing friend. You showed up in some very challenging times, and you've shown up for me publicly. You've shown up for me in my home, in my life, and, it's an honor to have you as a friend. Thank you.
I love you, brother.
Love you too.
So let's look at some favorable actions you can do to bring out more of the strengths of your moon placement. Honoring your mother or maternal figures. And that's actual mother or mother figures, mentors in your life, women that you've been inspired by or supported by in your life. Celebrating them, honoring them, sharing with them, connecting with them. Meditation is one of the best, most essential things for everything, but especially the mind. Meditating to calm the mind. And you might think, well, I don't calm the mind. I sit down to meditate, my mind goes crazy. Well, then you may need to find a meditative practice like journaling, drawing, crocheting, painting, playing guitar. Everybody has something that they can find and get into that sort of flow state where time disappears, your effort, your thinking mind just quiets, and you're just there. A lot of athletes talk about this, like getting in the zone. So where is that for you? You could be, if you can find that in meditation, then the cool thing is you can find it in almost anything. But for you, it could be anything else, like whatever it is for you that you find that sense of flow. Now, there can be things like watching a movie. It can get you into this state where your mind just disappears. And some of that is great. But, if that becomes the main way you do it, it actually starts to become a sort of dissociating or deflecting or distracting from actually expressing your gifts and expressing your essence. And your gifts and essence go unexpressed in the world. So, you want to, of course, be mindful of that, of like, your video games or movies or entertainment can be a way where you get into a sort of present, just observing, non-reactive, not thinking space. But can you also do that in expressing your gifts and being creative, being present with other people around you, playing sports with others, playing games with others? This is all favorable expressions of the mind. Spending time near water is very soothing for the mind. Listening to rain meditations, water meditations, sitting near the ocean, a calm lake, a puddle, even if that's what you have. Having a water feature in your home, like a little water feature that gives a water sound in your home, can be very nice. So spending time near water is very soothing for the moon in your chart. And if you have a very strong moon, then you probably want to live near a body of water or have a prominent water feature in your home that you can like sit and meditate next to. It's very cleansing as well for the energy and the emotions and the aura. If you happen to live near the ocean or get to go into the ocean, that's one of the best things you can do to sort of reset the emotions. Or just taking a shower. A lot of people say like taking a bath or a shower. If you have a bathtub, taking an Epsom salt bath is, again, one of the most cleansing things you can do for your energy, your aura, your emotional world. Unfavorable things that are going to bring out more of the challenging side of your moon placement, repressing your emotions. Now, this can be very subtle, but if you feel something and don't express it, it's not just left, it doesn't just go away. Like, for example, if you experience a very stressful situation, like a high stress conflict situation, if you do nothing, that tension still kind of loads up in your body like a spring you're compressing, and then it gets stuck in your hip flexors or your neck or your shoulders, and that stays there until it gets released. So you see this in the wild where animals go and shake out their stress and release the trauma that's stored in their body. And humans, we don't really do that. So we might go to dance and do that. Ecstatic dance is a great place to do this. I have some practices in the New Moon Alignment program where we shake out energy. It's a great way to release stored tension in the body. But if you repress the emotions, it gets stored. It gets held and stagnant there until you do something about it, which could become blowing up emotionally on somebody and a very intense, heated conflict, or coming out sideways like hostility or passive-aggressive energy to others. So you want to be aware of when you feel something, as best you can, create a space to express it and feel it and let it move. Energy wants to be moved in motion. That's emotion. If you ignore your intuition, your moon is going to bring out more of these haywire, negative, challenging expressions. So your intuition says, go, this is the time, make the move now, and you ignore it, then you start to have more irritability, more passive-aggressive things, more frustration, more the negative side of the moon we talked about. So it's very important to practice listening to your intuition, trusting it, building a relationship to it. So how do you know, is this my intuition talking, or is this a fear or a doubt, or am I overthinking it? The intuition is usually going to be calm, consistent, quieter. And the reactive mind is usually going to be more loud and urgent. And that's usually driven from some sort of fear or scarcity, which is all part of us. It's not like it's not part of us, but if we make all of our actions from that reactivity and fear, we're likely to create more conflict, more destructive energy in our lives. So if we want to create more harmonious, sattvic, peaceful, harmonious energy, then our intuition is usually going to guide us in that direction. This can be as simple as hand on heart, just breathing in for a moment, slowly breathing into the heart, and just asking, what do I need to know now? Or what is the most aligned action I can take in this moment? And the more we sort of clear our energy field through things like baths or time in water or nature or meditative practices or tending to the garden of the mind, the more we can hear those intuitions very clearly. As they say, at first the universe throws a pebble, then a rock, then a boulder to get your attention. And the intuition starts with the pebble. And it's like, the sooner we can address it and listen to it, it may seem harder, it may seem scarier, but you start to develop a relationship of trust with your intuition. And you start to walk with more faith in your life and less fear. And I know it can be scary at first, but I can speak from experience. Like, the more I've listened to that voice, the better things go in the long run. And it is very uncomfortable and confronting at times, and it runs up against all of our conditioning of our family. And the moon is the mother, and the mother wound comes up here when we try to do this kind of work. And that can take some very deep work in therapy and inner work. But ultimately, your intuition knows. Clinging to the past. The moon has to do with our memory and movement of cycles of time. The moon is always waxing and waning, so it needs to keep moving. The moon needs to move. And if we don't allow that movement of emotions, energy and motion, we repress it, we ignore our intuition, we stay stuck, we hold on to the past, we get all the negative effects. We get stuck, we get too much kapha energy, we hold on to things, we hold on to resentments, we hold on to fears, we get stuck, we hold on to weight. The physical body holds on to more and more weight. Water retention, fluid retention is excess and poorly expressing the moon energy. So the past is important. It's important to have nostalgia and reminisce and celebrate, but it's also important to keep moving. The moon keeps moving through cycles, though. And there's times where you cycle and it's like reminiscence comes up, nostalgia comes up. It's like, I've been to this place before. I remember what it felt like 20 years ago when I was in this energy. And that's a beautiful thing. But if it's like 20 years ago, everything was better and, I wasted, I ruined it, this kind of negative spiral we can go into. That's all like weeds in the garden of the moon, of the mind. And the past needs to be pruned at times too. We need to let go of things, complete the past. Maybe apologize to somebody or thank somebody or close old cycles. Like, especially people who have a lot of Cancer energy might start staying in a home for many, many years and just piling things up, and then junk drawers get full and closets get full, and like it all loses its function. Like the home is no longer comfortable. It's like just packed like a hoarder, but it could actually look good on the surface and like everything's neat and tidy, but you open a drawer and like it's completely stuffed and you can't find anything. Or maybe you can find it because you know where it is, but it's still like you can't bring anything new into this because there's no room for it. And the moon is constantly renewing every month. So we need to make room for the new things, the new moon. And if we don't have room for it, we can't grow. We get stuck, we get stagnant, and we get stuck in the past. But when we do the aligned actions, when we harness the strengths of the moon, and the moon is aligned in your chart, regardless of its sign, house, nakshatra, you have deep empathy for yourself and others, you have deep emotional resilience, and a beautiful, harmonious sense of inner peace. So if you want to learn more about your moon, get your free Vedic chart to see where your moon is and a training to start to decode your moon at quietmindastrology.com.